Welcome back to the Try with Alex podcast. This is episode 3, and today I am joined by the founder of the Gold Coast Social Tri Club and good friend of mine, Brandon Turton. Brandon shares a similar journey to my own. He grew up playing footy and absolutely loved the sport before he was riddled with injuries and made his way into triathlon and endurance sports after that. We talk about his motivation to create the Tri Club here on the Gold Coast, as well as some of his early races in his triathlon career and his goal at Port Mac coming up in a couple of months' time. I had an amazing time chatting with Brandon. I'm sure you guys are going to love it. So sit back, grab the popcorn, and enjoy. Brando, welcome to the Try with Alex podcast, mate. Everyone, this is Brandon Turton. We've got him on the show today, and we're going to be talking all things triathlon. To start us off, though, mate, I want to know about who you were pre-triathlon. So, what were you like as a person before you got into the sport?
That's a good question. Pre-triathlon, that would take me back to about 2021 during the
it's been a while.
The COVID area.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I first pushed into it about 2022.
Okay.
So I've been in the game for
Three or
4 years now.
Yeah.
So, and again, started like pretty basic too.
Yeah.
With the little sprint tries down in Melbourne, the 2XU ones.
Yeah, nice.
Which got me started. Just thinking back about all the weird things that I did to like get started, just rock up late and being like, what am I doing? And
that happened to me in the swim squad
rush.
literally yesterday. I rocked up right as the people were all getting the water. I was like, oh, fuck, hectic. So we're all still learning, definitely.
Didn't realise you have to put like things on your legs to diamond chips and stuff like that. So very novice of me, but
Yeah, right. Okay, so you're from Melbourne? No, you're from
the country, as you could probably hear in my
Yeah.
my country accent. Got a very
So where are you
thick,
from?
Albury-Wodonga, but grew up in a really small town called Rutherglen, which
So for all our global viewers here, that's like in between New South Wales and Melbourne and Victoria somewhere.
yeah, it's right on the border, so the Murray River, where I guess triathlon was not huge.
Yeah. Okay.
And less opportunity with different
So what did you do
sports.
before triathlon? Like before 2021, what were you? Who was Brandon then?
Who was he? Probably, I definitely was into like AFL, and probably my identity was all around like playing sport and AFL, I guess. But before that, I went through a period where I really struggled with an injury, osteitis pubis.
The
and
groins.
It's the groins, the
Yeah.
old adductors, which then turned into...
Juddy had that, didn't he?
Yeah, Juddy had that. And then unfortunately, I had that.
Yeah,
and
right.
probably not in a great spot to like where you could go and see someone that, you know, would give you really good evidence-based practices to get over it.
Okay.
It was very like hit and
So were
miss.
you playing footy at like a relatively high level or just amateur stuff? Or?
Just very, very amateur stuff. I got it when I was about 18, but I couldn't get rid of it for a long time, for about 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, right.
So there was a period for about 2-3 years where I literally just turned into a slob, didn't run or anything like that.
Right.
Whereas that really took away my identity, being able to play sport.
Yeah.
So I was pretty lost during that 2-3 year period because I actually really enjoyed running as well.
Yeah.
Like the longer distance stuff.
I grew up playing footy as well. I absolutely frothed it. It was everything to me. And then I dislocated my elbow in like probably the biggest game of my career. And then that was pretty much the end of my footy. Like I just got inside my own head and like lost the contract at that club. And then up moving to London and just everything changed from there. Yeah.
Real up and left.
Yeah.
What type of footy were you playing?
I was playing waffle, so I was on the Eagles waffle list. And then, I was in one season there. It was the season after I won the flag. And I was an Eagles fan. So, like, I was just a kid in a candy store training with all these AFL players.
You know Ben Cousons?
No, I don't know Benny. This is the flag in 18.
Oh, sorry,
not
18.
06, man. I'm not that old. Fucking hell. How old do you reckon I am? Jesus.
I'm thinking 40. I'm joking. I forgot that they won that flag in 2018.
I won the flag in 18.
I'm a Richmond supporter, and we were the best that year. So
yeah, you definitely
we
were.
deserved it.
You flunked it against the Pies in the prelim, didn't you?
I was there and I almost cried. Left at 3/4 time.
Well, it's good that both of our teams are doing really well now. Anyway, this isn't a footy chat.
Let's move away
Let's
from
move
that.
on. All right, so you loved footy, you grew up playing footy, and then you had osteopubis. You were in the slumps for sort of 2 or 3 years, feeling down in the dumps. And then what changed? How did you turn it around?
I'd probably say making the move to Melbourne, where I was able to like start my studying as a school teacher, so HPE, health and mathematics.
Okay.
And then being in Melbourne in an environment where there's lots of like options to go see different people and people that that have got the backing of like they've helped people before. Whereas in a rural community, there's less people to like go to and see like really high qualified strength and conditioning coaches. So in Melbourne, I started like going to see Corey Hargraves, who's a really good like strength and conditioning coach. Learn a lot from him. Also for my own like personal training as well.
Was the intention to go back to footy, or what were you thinking at the time? You just wanted to get back into health and
just
feeling good? Or were you intending to play footy again? Or
I probably was. I still, even now, I see people like having a kick and I'm just like, oh, I could easily go back. But the addiction of triathlon's pretty big too. And I know I don't want to go back and play organised sport and then get injured and then not be able to do triathlon in the future or really struggle due to an ACL or whatever. So
it's funny, man. Like I love footy, and I grew up playing it, and the social side of footy, it's so good, and the trips away and everything. And there's a part of triathlon that you might think, oh, you don't really get that, but you do though. Like yes, you're competing as an individual in a race, but there is such a big social side of triathlon as well. Like friends with training and stuff, but then the support that you get on race day from friends, family, no names, like Instagram followers and shit. It's incredible, man. I absolutely love it. So I've really loved that side of triathlon as well as the mental and the physical challenges that come along with it. So footy, got a little sidetrack there.
No, that's all. There's always tangents.
It's always tangents. All right, so footy, and then you transitioning into triathlon. So how did we get there again?
Yep, so I started really basic with doing the 2XU series down in Melbourne. I would say at the same time, I really started to build my endurance and running as well. That was probably prior to
it's probably where most people start, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as like ex-sports players, AFL, etc., you can like convert pretty easily to running. So we already build that aerobic base pretty high in AFL training. And then transition. I did my first half marathon, I think 22. And then I was like, what's this triathlon stuff about? Got into the 2XU, I think 21, 22, just real basic stuff. And then in 23, down in Melbourne, I'd seen a group called Ironman. So I contacted those guys, and they had a pretty cool, I guess, little community going. But you also had to pay to be a part of that community.
Right, okay.
So that was my ideas started flowing. Like, don't get me wrong, that community, absolutely great, loved it, but also hard to get into while at uni and trying to transition from uni to, your first wage, I guess.
Hard to access it if you're
hard,
for it. Yeah, okay. So So we're going to get to the Gold Coast Social Trial Club in a moment, which you've started, and I'm very excited to talk about that. But I want to just touch on the feeling that you had through those mini sprint triathlons at the 2XU series. You've done a couple of like half Ironmans. Have you done a full Ironman yet or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. Coming up though. So the longer endurance ones, like the half Ironmans, what was the feeling like finishing those sprint triathlons compared to the feeling of finishing those longer ones? Would you say it's similar? Would you say it's different? Or would you say it's like unique in their own way, but because the sprint one was your first one, it might have hold a more special place. I don't know.
I think, they're all very unique, but different for me because with the sprint one, it was kind of me just rocking up and not having put in much training prior to. I just thought, it's pretty small. I can just rock up and do it. But you really like soon to realize that swimming's a lot harder than what you think. Especially in the open water where there's a little bit of white caps in the bay too. And you're like, wow, I've just blown up in the first 100 meters. I've got 600 to go. I do not know what I'm doing. But then for the 70.3, the first one I did was for Geelong. I definitely trained a lot for it. Still very novice, but it's very different because I put in the yards to be able to put in a better performance.
So for my first triathlon ever, it was a half Ironman in England. Never trained. I didn't really train for it all. They didn't have a bike. I just went to the gym and I got on the cycle thing there and I'd do my running and occasionally get in the pool and stuff like that. The feeling that I had, just to add on that as well, I didn't wear cleats. That's how much of a novice I was. I fucking wore my runners because I thought
I was a novice.
I thought I'd save time in transition. So I was like, for 90Ks, I won't wear cleats. Fucking idiot. Anyway, the feeling that I had coming down the last 500 meters onto the red carpet was just like one of the most euphoric feelings that I've ever had. And like, I've done some pretty hectic shit, but that feeling was just like, I wanted it again. It was so, like you said, it was so addicting, man.
It's like a happiness, but a suffering happiness.
Yeah.
I believe so. Very different to like, say, someone gave you $1 million. Like, say if I gave you $1 million, you're happy, but it's different to the $1 million that, say, if you started a business and you worked for that.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with Ironman. It's like a suffering, but going through that suffering, you get so happy.
I'm getting chills right now because I know the amount of pain and suffering that I'm going through to my Cairns journey. Like, I already know the feeling I'm going to get, but it's just going to be that much better because of all this shit that I'm going through right now. And I really think that, like, everything is always so much sweeter when you break a sweat to get it. If you just get given something, it's so meaningless. And it's like, okay, great. You might feel great for a very split second, and then it's like, it's fleeting, it's gone. So
it's funny when you talk about the red carpet too.
Yeah.
You're already like getting a bit of dopamine, just thinking about it.
Yeah,
like that feeling of running down it, that red carpet. Your first one.
Yep.
Not training for it. How'd you go?
I went okay. Obviously, I trained for the last 2 months leading up to it. I booked it and I was like, all right, I better do some stuff.
Serious.
I went and did a 90K cycle in the gym and it took me 3 hours or something like that. I did the whole race in 5:25.
It's pretty impressive.
I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah,
I went in the mindset, I was like, I want to try and go under 5. And then it just, it rocked me. This came out of the swim behind schedule.
Yeah.
Got on the bike, flew for the first 30Ks on the bike. I was like, oh yeah, I'll make this. I'm actually going all right. And then I was just like, oh, I'm not going to make this. Last 30Ks was torture. The runs, I met some demons in the run, eh? I came with the bike, was feeling really good. And I got into a stride for the first 2 or 3Ks, and then I saw May on the sidelines, and I was just starting to crumble, man. And I had to stop.
Did she bring you up though every time you seen her a little bit though?
Yeah, I didn't see her much to be honest. Maybe 3 times throughout the whole run, but that first time was only about 2Ks in, and I remember stopping and looking at her and was like, I've got 18Ks to go, and I don't know how I'm gonna find it. I really have no idea. I was fucked, and it took me so long to find any rhythm again. It just felt like. It was probably only 6 or 7Ks, but it felt like hours, man. It felt like fucking forever, and I just couldn't get out of it. It wasn't until I got a little slant on the downhill where I got into a bit of stride, and then I was like, the breathing came back a little bit, the positive emotions and the mental side of things started to spiral upwards instead of down, and everything sort of shifted, and I was like, okay, I've only got 10K left, just keep moving, and then I found a stride and came home strong.
Yeah.
But that moment, man, it was just
the pit.
Oh, it was. It was and Zaka talked about it on the first potty, and it was just he's like the demons, man. It was just, you can't describe it to anyone. And yeah, I truly think that you find yourself in those moments. It's those moments that bring you out the other end that make the dopamine even better, the feeling, the lessons, the confidence to go about everything else in your life just seems to enhance because of those moments, I think.
Yeah, and I think even chasing those moments are good. Putting yourself back into that darkness as Goggins and all that.
I've spoken to a few people that intentionally bonk on their training.
Yeah.
So they will just be like, I'm going to go and just until I hit those demons. And then I want to see what it's like there and get used to coming back from it. And I'm just like, fuck,
I think you've been going through that a little bit too recently through just looking at your stories.
The last few days has been pretty dire.
Bit of a mental, physical game. Was it both mental, physical, or just?
It was more mental. I think. Yeah. I think the body's a lot more capable than what we give it credit. So I'm very rarely going to sit here and be like, oh, I think my body was giving up.
It adapts. Your body does adapt to that stimulus pretty well.
But it was the mind. And I would go to the pool and I'd get in there and I would take off for 200, 300 meters, and then I would just be like, no, I'm not doing it.
The mind doesn't want it.
Yeah, the mind's not doing it. And that's the signs, I think, of a weak man. I think being in that moment and being able to go, no, we're going to commit to this, even if we're going to go slow, we're going to get it done. I think the discipline to be able to do that is the most valuable skill that anyone can possess. I really do.
And I know David Goggins on a podcast talks about building, like, it wasn't the governor, it was another thing in your brain that you need to be able to build during those times where your brain really doesn't want to do it. You've got to try and push yourself.
I had to check that it was actually recording then because I was like, fuck, if this isn't on, I'm spewing. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
That's all
I'm
good.
sorry.
I'm pretty sure it was called your AMC though, that you want to be able to build. It's when, like, for running for me, I can wake up any day and go for a run, really. Yeah. But say if it's swimming or cycling, I know my brain's like, don't do it. Don't go for that run. And I know that discipline to be able to get from out of my bed onto the bike is going to grow that AMC. Yeah. But for running, I can literally, at any state, just go for a run.
Head out.
Yeah. It's just easy
it's
for me.
probably the one that's, most people are most comfortable with. So it makes sense. But yeah, you're right, man. The swimming and the riding's getting better for me, but the swimming, man. If you're not having a good day with this pool, like, it is so much harder to get it done. It really is.
Yeah, and look at those black lines. And I think when you know you're at that, like, it's good to do a bit of both solo swimming, but making that commitment to someone else to meet at the pool. Yeah. So you've already committed to it. Yeah. And if it's someone that's training for something similar to you, they'll go, no, you've said to me you're doing this, we're going to get through it.
They won't even need to say that because the guilt in yourself to be like, oh, fuck, if I don't go now, they're going to be by themselves.
And then they give you that, I don't know, the message after it, where were you?
Yeah.
Or if you do show up and you cut it early, they give you that look
like
you said, are you doing what you say?
There's tip number 1. Just make sure you get to the pool with your buddy. Fuck yeah.
Just show up, and it always gets easier, I think, the more you, like, push through that swim. Yeah. Like, the first, I don't know, for me, always, like, the first 100 to 500 metres is the toughest. Yeah. And then you try and break through that barrier and get that free-flowing state. Same as running. You get to 2-3K, and I know I'll always hit some type of runner's high, maybe sometimes a little bit later, but I absolutely love it.
There is a physiological barrier to how much you can train, right? But, like, and you talk about getting through that first 500 meters. I've had swims where I will be swimming and my lats are on fire, right? And I'm just like, fuck, is this really the best thing that I can be doing for training? But could that just be the mind playing tricks on you? So I guess my question is, how do you, specifically Brandon, how do you go about differentiating between what's physiological and what's psychological when gritting your teeth and trying to be disciplined? Because, I'm going to say right now, like, don't get me wrong, overtraining is a real thing. Like, you can't ignore the fact that you're burning the candle at both ends. Yeah. Either that could be through your own training, or you're training and then going to work and then burning yourself out. If you're not recovering properly, then you will cook yourself. Yeah. But definitely, I think the more you train, the more you get in touch with your body, and you know, like, how to, like, respond, how to give yourself that extra sleep in if you really need it. And I do think it comes with time, but also if you analyze some of your stats as well, and you start looking at how much sleep you're getting, are you waking up heaps during that cycle as well? Like, sleep is the number one. Yeah. The number one thing. And if you're not recovering and getting that good night's sleep, 6 to 8 hours, especially when you're training for an Ironman. And it's hard, man, because, like, especially those long rides, you're up at 4, sometimes 3:30 to get to the meeting spot to do your 3, 4, 5 hours ride. Like, there's no way you can get to bed early enough. Like, it's to get your 8 hours. It is I find it extremely difficult.
Yeah, it is tough.
It's really hard, man. And then you'll be like, okay, well, I've got the rest of the day. I'll catch up. But then you're into social stuff, or you're making content for Instagram, whatever it is, work, right? And then it's just like you're constantly playing catch up.
Tough.
So guys, as an age group athlete, I'm sure you are aware that recovery and sleep is the most important thing that you can do for your body aside from training. It's the one thing that makes you get up the next day and be able to go again. Now, if you've been following along on my Insta journey, you'll know that on day 130, I went through my sleep routine. And something that I've integrated into that routine is using the triple magnesium from Pillar Performance. Pillar is a performance health brand developed by leading sports scientists, dietitians, and athletes. Pillar's biggest focus is to get you to the start line, ripping and ready to go in the best condition possible. My nighttime routine and sleep has become a crucial part in my ability to stay consistent and perform at my training. Pillar's triple magnesium, informed by leading heart rate variability researcher Dr. Dan Plews, has been absolutely integral to my nightly routine, and taking it 30 minutes before I go to bed each night guarantees that I'm getting as much time in REM as possible. Pillar uses high dosages of glycinate magnesium, which is activating the parasympathetic nervous system and ensures that you fall asleep and stay in the restorative sleep phases for longer. Now, my Garmin data speaks for itself. As you've seen on Instagram, I'm sharing 90 plus sleep scores very regularly, usually like 3 or 4 times a week. And I credit a lot of that to the triple magnesium from Pillar Performance. Now, the data is one thing. Looking at the sleep score is great. But the biggest metric that I go off is how I feel in the morning. I wake up feeling refreshed, restored, and ready to tackle the training that day. So if you're wanting to give the triple magnesium a go or any other products from Pillar Performance, then head over to pillarperformance.shop, or for the North American viewers out there, head to thefeed.com, and you can use the code ALEX to save 15% off your next purchase. Lastly, guys, a big thank you to Pillar Performance for supporting the Sub 10 journey and sponsoring this episode of the Try with Alex podcast.
So sleep then, what do you do
To get to sleep as best I can, or
to give yourself the best opportunity to recover through sleep?
I'm so much of a scheduler. So every night I'll schedule like my day, so I know exactly what I'm doing.
Fuck, you'd love my mate Geordie, eh? You boys fucking get on like a house on fire.
Well, I can't wait to meet Geordie then. But I'm a massive scheduler. I always have been. I think I always will be. Yeah. I just like to know exactly what I'm doing. And then for me, I know I've got a bedtime routine, which is, I don't know.
No, it's good.
It's like people have their morning routine.
Yeah.
I think you should start it the night before, have a bedtime routine. So for me, it's like obviously trying to have dinner as early as possible. Yeah. Again, pretty hard to do.
What time's that?
Let's say try and have it before 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Or say if I'm coaching at 6:30 for like GC Social Tri Club, I try have it at like 5:30 before I get there. So then that means I don't have to have a really big meal before I go to bed.
I agree 100% with what you're saying, but I struggle with it, man. I feel like I have a certain amount of willpower throughout my day, and the longer the day goes on, the less willpower I have, right? So then it gets to 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, and all of the decisions that I would normally make really disciplined just turn to like lenient. And then it's like, oh, I'll snack, or I'll have fucking 2 bowls of pasta, right? Whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden it's 7 and I've got this gut full of food that I don't need because I'm going to sleep, and then I have a shit sleep. But like, yeah, it just comes back to discipline, man. Just trying to be strict with yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to be super balanced in life, but I guess if you want to get the best times that you can, I'm always like, what does my peak performance look like? Which I know it's not realistic because I'm not a professional athlete, so can't be at the best I can ever be, but I always think, how can I be that best? And for me, I know that's scheduling, trying to eat early, which I know is tough sometimes, especially when you've got training like later on after work, etc. But then early helps you get to sleep a lot faster, and your body's not trying to digest that food while you're trying to sleep. But then coming back to bedtime routine, I know it starts with me writing down what I'm doing the next day, and then I'll have a hot shower, which rises the core temperature. It's actually the opposite effect. People think have a cool shower and then your body will heat up and cool down. That's the other way around.
Organs will cool.
Yeah, so your internal organs will.
Does that mean that in the morning you're having a cold shower?
Yeah. 100%.
So you want to heat the internal body up to get you firing.
To get me going, but it's pretty shit up here in Queensland. The
cold water's not very cold.
It's not very cold. So again, if I could, I'd have a ice plunge, but I just don't have everything, you know. And then reading my book before bed.
Yeah.
I know.
Any stretching, yoga at night?
Nah, not massive. On
because I mean, I believe part of now I'm no sleep expert here, but I believe part of getting a good night's sleep is you want to obviously cool the internal body and reduce the heart rate, bring the heart rate right down. And I have found that doing stretching, like passive, slow stretching just for bed is just such a hack, man. When I commit to it and I just like it's like peaceful music on, the heart rate comes down, I just get so sleepy and it just knocks me out, So that's definitely a habit that I'm going to try and build back up.
I might try to bring that in too. So I'll give it a go.
I'll give the real hot showers a go. But, see, here in this house, I don't have aircon. So if I'm having a hot shower and I get into my bed, I'm sticking to the sheets, and that's a problem. Like my internal body's probably cooling down, but like externally, I'm just uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So that's a fine line that I'm struggling with at the moment, especially here on the Gold Coast, being so humid and stuff like that. But essentially, going back to sleep, cool room, eat early, bring the heart rate down, do something peaceful, get off the screens, that sort of stuff.
Try and get your room as dark as possible, and if that's
schedule.
Yeah, schedule. And if that's a even what do they call it, one of those night mask as well.
Yeah, I've started using it.
It's just I don't know. It's light so early here,
Yeah.
and if you are having one of those days where it's a later sleep in, you don't want to have the light coming through at 4:30 a.m.
I may as well just get up now, and you've missed a
Yeah. And then,
Cool. All right, man. We've covered sleep. I want to know a little bit about how many Ironmans how many half Ironmans have you raced in?
Ironmans.
Or that distance. I know you did Tweed Enduro recently, which isn't technically Ironman, but it's the same distance.
Same distance, yeah. Including Tweed, it's 470.3s that I've done.
So I saw you did Sunshine Coast, was it?
Yeah.
What else have you done?
I've done Melbourne and Geelong.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your best effort?
Ooh. So Melbourne, absolutely so annoyed about that one. They cut the swim short to a 1K because there was some white caps and I think some passings earlier on in Ireland's Ironman.
Yeah.
So they cut that short to 1K.
Yeah.
That was a 440.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Sunny Coast was 445. So nothing spectacular, but I know that definitely was definitely not like at my peak because I just moved up to Queensland as well. Like so many things in life, didn't have the best routine and stuff like that. So I feel like I could really knock that over.
And how long ago was Sunny Coast?
That was September.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we're February. And you've just done Tweed Enduro, which is the same distance half Ironman, and I'm pretty sure you did that 456.
Yeah, 450 something. I think it was low 450s.
Yeah, but you had trouble with your bike and stuff.
Just long time in between races. Haven't done like even a mini triathlon in a while, so I just did a few stupid things at the start. It was a very hot day as well, and kind of just a B race as well, just to prime me up, get myself ready for the big event.
Still, to be sub 5 where you're feeling good. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I made some doozies. I put my bike computer upside down.
No.
Got a
How do you fuck that up?
Just being real, like, because normally you check your bike in the night before.
Yeah.
And this time I've just checked it in the morning and it was still dark, and I've just obviously the bike computer I took off and then put back on. And then
Is it
recently
not like a quick?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. I just put it on there. But then my bike had some changes on the Friday, because I got a bike service. Yeah. And I put in like a bottle up the top as well, which I'm not used to. So then that moved my bike computer more vertical. So it wasn't really set up for me. And then on that Friday, because I was teaching, I picked up my bike and realised like one of my gears isn't working either. It's just a small... Just in the aero. So it was just a few things adding up that I don't recommend doing and leaving late.
Yeah, okay.
But B-race, I still learn a lot. Never going to make those mistakes again. Or if I do, pretty stupid.
Okay, so 456. And now the A race. You talk about your B race there. What's your A race and what are you trying to achieve at your A race?
A race is Port Macquarie.
Full
Ironman. So
full Ironman at Port Macquarie?
It'll be my first one. I still haven't set like a time that I'm going for. I'm just going to hold off a little bit and look at my metrics, try and compare to see where I'm at, and then.
It sounds so much smarter than me, eh? It sounds so much smarter than me.
Not smarter. I just want to see where my body's at first. But I am pretty ambitious with it still. Yeah. I want to get close to that 10 mark.
He doesn't want to say it.
He
doesn't want to say it. He's avoiding it. He wants to go sub 10.
Oh, I would absolutely love to go sub 10. And following your journey, I'm like, this guy is literally called sub 10. So I've got to steal some things from you because you've put yourself out there, which...
Well, mate, when I saw your time at Tweed and then I had a chat to you after, I was just like, okay, so what's your goal? And I could just see in your eye, like you didn't say it and you didn't want to say it, but I knew that you were like, I really want to go sub 10. And I think that's just fucking awesome, man. Like, it's such a little mental barrier as well as such a physical one. And like, I'm doing the half at Port. and I'll finish that hopefully quicker than sub 10, and I will be on the sideline,
easily.
fucking rooting for you, man. I will be like
Yeah.
getting you home in every way I can. I'm fucking excited for you, dude.
And you break down those times, and it is quite quick.
Yeah. Oh, of course,
in
man.
the water and everything
course.
like that. So,
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
But that's the beautiful thing about it,
You
man.
set ambitious goals, like why play small
Yeah.
when you can set big goals? And if you don't achieve it, I'm going to do it the next one. So,
Sub 10 at Port Mac. Brandon's going to do it.
but my biggest race that I'm keen for,
Okay, tell me.
as a runner, is Gold Coast Marathon.
Doing the full?
Yeah, and I'm locking in for that sub 3.
Fuck yeah.
Obviously Ironman is like going to be the big achievement, but then 8 weeks after we're going to back up and go straight for that sub 3.
That's massive. That's absolutely massive.
A big 4 months
8
coming
weeks
up
from
Port Mac.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And that's the reason why I didn't do Cairns. I would have loved doing Cairns.
So I was thinking about I was trying to get a ticket to the Gold Coast Marathon as well, but I was like, it's too close, man. It's only 2.5 weeks or something, and I'm just like, nah. But you'll be running with Miss May, my partner. She has managed to snag a ticket for the Gold Coast Marathon.
Awesome.
She's doing the full. She's never done a full before. She's only ever done a half. So we've
be
just
big-
bought her a
big for her.
program, and she's going to start training for the next 20 weeks, or whatever it is, until then. And
Awesome.
yeah, I think she's going to try and go sub 4.
And by the time this comes out, I would have announced that our GC Tri Club is going to be running a bit of marathon prep. So we'll have our track sessions specifically for the marathon.
Fuck
and
yes,
then every
mate.
Saturday we'll be having our long run as well.
Oh, there you go, babe.
which will be for everyone that's either doing the half marathon or the full. We'll have 2 kind of
Epic.
leaders running each session.
That'll be
so
wicked, man. I cannot wait for that.
The build's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I look forward to being a spectator on that day. I'll be still recovering and just doing my own thing, but I can't wait to be on the sideline in the city, like watching her race, watching you guys race. Sub 3, mate.
And
What shoes are you wearing?
I can't wait to watch you at Cairns.
You're not coming up.
I'm going to come up.
You're going to come up?
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
There's going to be a fair few athletes in the club as well as that I'm coaching up there. So
I'm going to try and get a bunch of hats and stuff and like team kits that we're going to wear and get some photos. It's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be great.
let's lock in.
And then one little flag that says sub 10 loaded. And then we're going to run down with it, baby. It's going to happen. I'm manifesting it.
So, true. If you don't get that sub 10, bike's gone.
Bike's gone. So I'm giving the bike away if we don't do a sub 10. That is just GG's will win on the way. But like, 2 things.
I think you've got it anyway.
I've got a lot of confidence,
Keep
but there's so
discipline.
many things that can go wrong, you know, like puncture, rough day in the water, whatever it is, right? And if anything does go wrong, like I'll still give the bike away. Like my philosophy is that I want to challenge myself and achieve great things, conquer great things, right? But I also want to inspire other people to do the same. And there's so many people that I think will watch my vlogs that will be like, holy fuck, look at this guy, look at what he's doing, like, he's had a crack, I'm gonna have a go. And I've had so many messages, and that is my fuel, man. That is what drives me every single day. Like, yes, the feeling of conquering and achieving is great, and I love it, but getting a message from someone saying like, dude, you have been the biggest inspiration for me, I've signed up to my first half Ironman, like, I'm absolutely loving the content. That just gives me, like, I'm getting tingles just thinking of it, man. I love it, eh?
Well, you've inspired me. Like, certainly. I'd seen you over in Perth, I think, come up in my feed, and I'm like, who is this guy? I love what he's doing. He's courageous, putting it out there.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to change triathlon.
Oh, well, I hope so, mate. That's a nice thing to say. I really appreciate that. If I don't make it, man, like, I look forward to walking that bike to whoever wins it and just being like, take her, man. Fucking good luck. Like, if she rides better than treat for me.
Treat her well.
Treat her well. And I'm a big believer of like give before you get, man. And there's a part of me that's like, you know, the universe will line up. If it's not for me, if I'm not meant to go sub 10 at Cairns, I'll be able to find a new way to get a new bike that, you know, someone might be able to help me out financially to sponsor it or something else, you know, like, and it's not about that. Like, I'll give it away anyway and buy another one. But I just think I'm a big believer in give before you get, and I'm looking forward to.
Shows that you're a genuine person too.
Thanks,
like giving back before you try and receive something. And look, you just got to control what you can and put in
That's it.
the best you can. And sometimes things like on the bike are just out of your control. I know in my head I'm like, just get me off this bike, get me on that run, and we're good.
The run it's all on you then, right? At least there's no external factors. All right, mate. So how long until Port Mac? We've got
11 weeks.
11 weeks to go. So
Just
you would be right in the thick of training at the moment? What is your training look like at the moment? What's the week?
It's starting to build up like every week. Obviously, we're going to do Jack. So Jack's my coach, who is part of GC Social Tri Club and my like business that's kind of tied on to GC Social. So he is programming me, basically building me up for like a 2, 3, sometimes 4 week period.
Okay.
And then we like those hours are starting to build up, and then we
Deload.
track back, deload, let the body rest up.
Okay.
We've provided that stimulus. Now we need to recover. So then we get fitter and fitter each time.
Okay, so you said like it's either 2, 3, or 4 week build,
Yeah.
and then a deload. Is that constantly changing? Do you have some builds are 2 weeks, some builds are 3 weeks, some builds are 4 weeks?
Yeah, so for example, when we first started, it was a 5 week build just because we had Tweed Enduro.
Right,
So that we had to kind of deload right before Tweed Enduro.
Yeah.
But now it'll roughly be like a 4 week build and then ease back.
Yeah.
But again, it'll be looking at the schedule. And I'll potentially be doing Kingy Triathlon as well,
Okay.
just as another B race, which is an Olympic-sized distance.
Oh, Olympic. Okay.
Yeah.
That's on the 6th of April, is it? No.
It's 3-4 weeks away.
Okay. No.
So
Yeah, different one
I think the 6th of April is GC Tri.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, which I probably won't be doing that one, but I'll be down there.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun
Just spectating, getting amongst everyone, and a really good one for like beginners to start with as well, because they've got that sprint try, which is really good.
All right, so let's just say that you've got every month you've got a deload week on average, right? Something like that. What does that deload week look like comparatively to say
Big week.
your 90 your 9 out of 10 week?
Yeah.
Right? So not your biggest week ever, because that's always going to be like a bit of an outlier, but like an 8 or 9 out of 10, that level of week comparatively to the deload week. What's the sort of
The
ratio?
difference? Yeah, let's go. It really comes down to volume.
Yeah.
So almost be training twice every day. So a morning session, and then it could be a gym session or a swim, but it would always be like a run in the morning or a bike.
Yeah.
And then I tend to get my swimming in the afternoon or a gym session in the afternoon. And I try to tee up my strength training so that I'm doing it upper body with a big bike the next day, or like a track session with my upper body session. And then when I know I've got a big swim coming up, it'll be more specific to lower body and core as well, just to give myself the best.
How many times in the gym a week?
3 at the moment. Yeah.
I'm struggling to get that.
They are like really small sessions. Best way for me is just hit those compound movements that are like your deadlifts, your RDLs, front and back squats.
And are they heavy? Are we doing heavy weight, or we?
Yeah, so it does vary. So I look at a cycle. So periodization comes back to, let's go 12 weeks right now. Say if we were going from a 20 week, at the start of that, we'd be wanting to build our muscular endurance in our strength program. So that looks like higher reps. So even getting up to like 15 reps with lower weight.
Yeah.
So building that
That's
endurance.
pretty much what I'm doing now. Not 15, but like 10 to 12.
10 to
sort of
12.
stuff. And 3 sets.
You're probably in the next mesocycle. So first one is muscular endurance. The next one, mesocycle 2, would be more your hypertrophy, which is 12 to 8 reps, where you're still trying to build a bit of muscle, because you've got to have muscle to be able to push stuff, have strength to, get through stuff. And then your third mesocycle would be more strength based, where you're lowering your reps and pushing higher weight.
I really don't have the knowledge of all that, and I struggle. Like, I'll go to the gym. I've got like a little gym program that comes with my training program as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It has a number for reps and like 2 or 3 sets for each one, but it doesn't have a weight. Obviously, you have to put your own weight in, but I've got no idea, and I just end up picking up weights and I get lazy with recording it. And
if you don't, another thing is like it's good that you've got that program. You're not just rocking up and doing whatever, because that's what a lot of people do. Time wasting. But with your program, you really need to be putting in your weight so you can measure, are you increasing or decreasing? And then it comes back to like if you really want to get specific, you got to work out like your 1 rep max roughly, and you can do that in different ways rather than going all out for a 1 rep max where you're higher likely to get injured through a 1 rep max. You can do like a 3 rep one, and then you can work out calculate what your 1 rep would be and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you really, if you, I don't know, because I would have to have a look at your training program and see how it's based out.
After this.
And then basically with that strength program, so we've got to that 3rd mesocycle where we're focusing on power. That would be for 4 weeks roughly.
Yeah.
Coming into it, you really want to come back and take away some of that eccentric movement, which is like we're actually going to get those micro tears, like and get some DOMs.
Yeah.
So then we bring in more just concentric stuff, which is like your rack pulls. Rather than doing the full deadlift, you're coming from knee height, where you just can't get injured, but you're still getting that power through your body.
Yeah, okay.
That's like
Really
that's basically your priming stuff right before the race.
That's really interesting, man. I'm loving the knowledge that you have on this and the structure. Like you said to me, you're a scheduler. Like you've obviously tracking everything, and you've got a destination you're trying to get to, and you're on the stepping stones towards it. I would say that my swimming, riding, and running is all exactly the same. Like I'm measuring it all, testing every 8 weeks, but the strength side of things is very sporadic. I have the exercises and I go and I do it, but I'm not tracking it. I'm not measuring my 1 rep maxes. I'm not working out what the weight should be. And I think I should pay a bit more attention to that.
Yeah, you definitely should. Obviously, your number 1 priority is your endurance training. But close behind that is your strength. Yeah. I mean, if you want longevity in the sport...
Yeah, I think I have age. Probably have age on my side as well. I don't know how old you are.
27.
27.
How about yourself?
28. 20.
You don't even know your age.
I did this the other day.
Gee, you're actually super young. Are you 28?
28. I'm definitely not older than 28.
I actually thought you might have been like 30.
Nah.
Definitely not 40. Sorry, I was taking I forgot about the 2018, but I'm sure growing up in Perth, you would have idolised him.
We did love Penny Cars. Yeah, fuck yeah. Cool. All right, moving back now quickly. So we've got an insight into your training, your loads and your strength and stuff like that. What about nutrition?
Yeah.
Do we want to segue that?
I forgot to mention about that deload week too.
Yeah.
Because we spoke about the high volume stuff where it's like a lot, twice a day we're training. Deload week, we're just really reducing that volume. Yeah. We're still keeping a little bit of like threshold stuff in there as well to maintain a bit of pace, but we've definitely dropped that volume to be able to recover.
Yeah. And
that's where I'd probably add in a couple of like little sauna sessions rather than an afternoon gym session.
Yeah.
Just let my body recover. But yeah, we'll go back to it.
No, we'll put nutrition on hold for a moment because I like this. Threshold stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're keeping that in the deload weeks. I listened to a podcast, the Norwegian Method podcast. I found it really interesting. And part of what they were talking about is like, there's a certain amount of high intensity stuff that a human being can do in a week. And it's not the same for everyone, but it's very similar for everyone. There's only a certain amount of intense that you can do for that week or X amount of time, right?
Yeah.
But the endurance, like the zone 2 stuff, it's almost like you could fucking do that forever, right? That's what humans, I guess, are built to do.
Yeah.
And I guess that's Goggins' method as well, right?
Yeah.
That endurance stuff, you could essentially, if you keep fueling your body, you'll do it forever, right? So when I first came into this sport and I started researching and learning about it and sharing in the journey, people were like chiming in and saying, oh, you need to be doing the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
I heard this 80-20 rule fucking everywhere. And I was just like, okay, well, what is the 80-20 rule? What does it actually mean? So that people were saying, all right, well, 80% of your load must be done at zone 2 and 20% must be done at high intensity. And I was like, okay, that makes sense if I'm doing a lot of work. But if I've only got 5 hours in my week, which at the start of my training, that was all I was doing, right? Maybe just over 5 hours a week, about an hour a day. The body can handle more than an hour of intense work in a week. It can, right? I think it can, and I think most people would agree with that. So spending 4 hours at low intensity in zone 2 and 1 hour at high intensity wasn't the best way, I don't think, to do my training. Now, I don't exactly know the figure of where the 80-20 rule starts to apply. Yeah. But I think it's like around 13, 14, 15, maybe even upwards of that. Hours. So I think the body can handle somewhere around like 2 to 3, maybe even 4 hours of intense work. And I think that should be a priority for anyone that's doing lower loads. I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, they can't do those 15, 20
Exactly.
weeks.
People are working, man. Like people have kids and stuff.
That 80-20 definitely may not work out for them, because I know there might have been, for my Mara prep, I might have only been able to do 50Ks a week.
Yeah.
So therefore, I have to get some quicker sessions in to be at a reduced rate. Obviously, I still believe your long runs is no doubt the most important thing. But as you said, you want to break that up during the week and get more in, but you still got to build that aerobic base first. And say for me doing a marathon, you need to try and get as, I guess, specific as possible to what you're actually going to be doing. And when you do the race, you're not going to be sitting in your zone 2. You get, some people might.
This is
want to
super
do that.
interesting to me, man. Like, and I agree with you. I've come around to the fact that if I'm doing the long hours, get into zone 2, start burning the fat, start like building that aerobic base.
Yeah.
But it's so counterintuitive because on race day, I'm not going to be running with a heart rate of 140.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's my brain goes, well, if we're not fucking training at 160, 170 beats per minute, you're not going to be able to fucking hold that for 3 hours in a marathon. You're not going to be able to do it. That's what my brain tells you, right? But it doesn't work like that. Physiologically, if you train at 140, I don't know where the aerobic base threshold is.
Yeah.
Probably different for everyone.
Everyone's, different varies.
But somewhere around 140, 150, right? I feel physiologically now, if I train at that and I have a massive workload, then it will transition on race day into faster speeds, and I will be able to sustain that if I'm fueling with lots of carbohydrates, lots of fuel.
There's a lot of different ways
of
doing things.
It's a fucking big old rabbit hole.
We're starting to go into the rabbit hole, but obviously, like, you're training for an Ironman, right? You're going to get a lot of your zone 2 while riding. And whereas that's very different to someone that's running for a marathon. Because basically you're going to get that zone 2 while riding, meaning that you can spend a little bit more time running in a higher zone because you've got so much of that zone 2 from your bike ride. That's how I'm looking at things. I'm doing my rides zone 2, depending when we're with the group. Sometimes we have those guys that like to surge, not naming anyone. And then in my head, I'm like, well, I don't need to do as much zone 2 while running. I feel like I can spend a little bit more time building up my threshold running and my speed, rather than doing both zone 2 all the time, running and cycling. I'm still trying to prime myself for that marathon after as well, so trying to get some speed.
Exactly. I absolutely agree with it. My brain will try and convince me otherwise regularly. Like, I'll go on a long run, and lately I've been doing negative splits. I've enjoyed feeling what it's like to run slower for the first half and then run faster. I've enjoyed that feeling, and I'll probably do that another couple of times. But it's without a doubt, my heart rate does increase to above zone 2, but it shouldn't according to the program. I should be keeping it lower. But and
sometimes, I like to go off just RPE, rate of perceived exertion, rather than really going too deeply into heart rate zones. So you go off the Borg scale, 1 to 10, try and sit at your 4 out of 10. And the more you do just look at RPE, the better
the more in
you
tune you become with your body, right? I agree. I'm reading a book at the moment, I spoke about this with Jazz actually as well, called Iron War. Have you read that?
I haven't.
Mate, you got to read this
Iron War. Who's it by?
I actually don't know who's by, but it's the story about the 89 Ironman, and it's Dave Scott and Mark Allen, and it's a phenomenal book, man. It's such a sick book. And Dave Scott is like, he was like the Ironman champ for like 6-7 years in a row. Never wore a watch, just went all out on RPE, just knew what his body, and he was like the best at suffering. He could handle so much more pain than anyone else. And it's a really interesting book, mate. I'll send it to you after this, and you can check it out if you want. We got slides around that book,
it's just like times do change, and people want to be a lot more technology driven. But I still like to come back to not even looking at my watch sometimes and just going for it.
The interesting part about this was that Mark Allen, he was all the tech, right? And he was Dave's bunny for like 6 years. Dave just kept beating him in Ironman. And then he eventually,
eventually overtook him.
Eventually, in this race, it's phenomenal. But like, the times have changed, but I still think, like you say, that there's merit for RPE and for feeling what it's like in the body, because and I learned this with swimming as well. I got the Hollow Swim goggles where it tells me the data in the water. Oh man, I loved them at the start. I really loved them at the start because I was like, I had no idea what pace I was doing at the time. It was really hard to like stop and look at the watch. I hated that. Yeah. So it literally gives you your pace right in front of you while you're swimming. And
in real time.
In real time. I was like, this is fucking sick, man. Yeah. And I learned what each pace felt like. And when I learned that, I was like, okay, this pace is giving me an RPE of 4 or whatever it was, right? And I could begin to get in tune with what swimming felt like, like I was with running. Exactly. Running, I knew when I'm running, I'm like, okay, this is this pace, and this is how hard I'm working. I know I can last for this long, right? Yeah. It's intuition. Yeah. Swimming, I had no fucking idea. But these goggles helped me. But now it's like, I'm looking at the pace, and I'm almost like in my own head, if I'm not reaching a certain pace, and I'm thinking about my technique, there's too much going on.
Yeah, so can you get into a zone when you're like, always, you're seeing it there.
It's really good in the sense that it's there, but it's not distracting. Like if you want to just focus on swimming and technique, it's not in your way at all. Oh mate, you can try them before you leave. Like just put them on and just see what it's like.
I'm keen to check it out.
Fuck yeah.
I'll probably end up buying them.
I'm
gonna test this out.
I got a little kickback from it, so cheers. If anyone wants some Hollow Swim goggles, there's a link on my bio.
It's funny though, because a lot of like really good swimmers that do the squads and stuff, they won't wear a watch. They don't even time anything, because it takes away from them doing their their 10-second rest and stuff like that. They're actually, I do this, which is probably pretty bad. I'll finish my swim, it might be 100 meters, and then I'll stop the watch, and then I'll look up at the clock and wait for the 15 seconds, and then I'll click play again. And go for it. I know it's very wrong, but I know a lot of people do it. And the actual really good swimmers, which I'm not, will just properly just leave it running, so then they're looking at the time and they're getting it specifically, rather than just kind of glaring up at the sign. Well, you can do that as well. Yeah.
I use
lap press. Yeah.
Mate, let's get into the Tri Club. So you started this Tri Club here on the Goldie. Yeah. You moved up from Melbourne about, a year ago, you said?
Yep. Smack bang on.
About a year ago, and you were interested in the triathlon scene already, and thought, fuck it, I want to get more people involved with this. Yeah. So I'm going to start a Tri Club, a social Tri Club. And tell me about the start. Tell me about what happened.
I know we briefly spoke about the crew down in Melbourne. Shout out to Ironman. I looked at that club and was like, I already knew in 2023 before I came up, I was coming up here to start a Tri Club. Okay. I didn't know how it was going to work out, but I knew I was going to just pursue it and go for it. Yeah. And I still think of that reticular activating system where you put a goal out there and you're always looking for it in your brain. So a lot more, and that was one of my goals. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I literally then moved up here, started school teaching up here.
Did you know anyone here?
My older brother, he's lived up here for a couple of years, and I've had like some family up here as well, but not many like friends or anything that I can think of. Sorry if there was. There might have been like just people that I knew of, but like not really like close friends. Yeah. And then I seen an advertisement come up at Miami Aquatic Centre for a PT, and I already knew I had my quals. Hadn't PT before, so I just went there. I showed him the guy, Izzy, basically what my plan was. It was to PT and start this Tri Club community at the same time. And he said, mate, we want you in. Fuck yeah. And then about a week later, signed up. That must have been January, March, April, May-ish. Yeah. And then I just went for it. Ordered a sign, GC Social Tri Club. I actually spoke to a couple of people up here. It was like, do you guys want to be involved? This is what I'm going to do. Yeah. And then I was just like, that discipline showed up every week. Put the sign out. There was 1, 2, 3 people showing up.
At the pool.
No
Instagram page yet or anything like that?
Started it pretty early, but and then it just started to just build on. We started doing like a GC narrow prep, and like shout out to like Ollie and Kyle that you both know. Yeah. They came on board pretty early and started helping me out. Showed up pretty regularly. Yeah. But like there was days where it was just like maybe one person might rock up. And I was just like, awesome, I love this anyway. Like I'm going to be here training anyway. So if more people show up, the better. But going back to down in Melbourne, I found it hard to be able to afford to be a part of that community.
What were they charging down there to be a part of that community?
70 a week, roughly.
70 a week?
Yeah, it was quite expensive, but there were like other ways around it as well. And prices were kind of like getting higher and higher, and I thought...
So what did you get with that 70 though?
Well, you got community sessions and programming as well.
Okay,
so there was a fair bit involved in that as well. And you could still rock up, but it felt like a bit of a disconnection.
Yeah.
I felt bad if I wasn't paying. And I was like, how could I do that up here where it's free? And then I was seeing a lot of run clubs starting off. I'm like, I really want to start a run club.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the same thing, but a tri club. And have a couple of sessions a week. And then
I've never seen it anywhere. And I was living in Perth, and I think it popped up on my feed because Dan was chatting to me early on, and then he posted something, so I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I genuinely thought that it was a paid thing.
Nah.
So before coming over, I was just like, oh yeah, I might go and check out what it's like and go and meet some people. And I thought it was like being a part of the club meant that you were racing events with the club name and everything like that. And I think you're going to try and get to that, right?
Yeah.
Or you might already do it.
As in trying to make we do want to eventually have really cheaper programs that are affordable for everyone, affordable triathlon basically.
Yeah.
Very cheap, a little bit individualized, a little bit generic, but not super. And it's a really good in for those beginners who want to come along and be a part of a community that's kind of in their 20s to 30s. Looking at triathlon up here, I just seen that niche. There wasn't too many clubs that are a little bit younger. I thought, why not make the change?
Yeah.
Get a lot of these fit Gold Coast people who could easily transition into triathlon into it.
And man, you've done so well. I literally came here. I remember saying to May, I was just like, hey, there's a fucking swim session, a free swim session with this wicked club. And then they were doing track sessions on Thursdays. And then I was put into the group chat on WhatsApp immediately. And they were like, oh yeah, I've got a 4-hour ride. I'm saying everyone's welcome. I was just like, this is unbelievable. I was sitting in Perth training by myself for days and days on end. 90 days I was doing these vlogs and training for.
By yourself.
By myself.
Yeah, and a little bit dismal, isn't it?
It's shocking, man. I had one mate, David, who messaged me on Instagram. I went for a couple of rides with him, and that was lovely. Yeah. But then I got here, and it was just it was refreshing, man. I thought, fuck me, this is unbelievable. I get all the perks of doing the sport that I fucking love. Yeah. With a whole bunch of like-minded people that want to do the same thing. I'm like, what a fucking win.
That's pretty awesome.
It's awesome what you're doing, man.
And the community, it's not just me. There's so many people that have built the community. So massive shout out to the boys, Jack especially, who's
Jack
come on.
Does a good job.
Yeah, and he's elite swimmer. Yeah. He's making those swim sessions so fun and just bringing a lot of easy things that people can bring in and change their swimming. It really can be little simple changes that make your swimming just so much better.
Definitely.
And the whole group and just random people being I'm going to help you do the bike ridings, and then because I don't message in and do everything, especially on the weekends. I leave that up to the members. Yeah. And they just drive it themselves.
Yeah, fuck so. And it's good now, I imagine people know the routes and stuff like that. There's all these different ones. I was just a fish out of water. I was where the fuck do I ride? I had a bike path in Perth, and now I'm right on the road and I'm going to figure out where I'm going. So I just follow people now. It's great.
I'm new too. Yeah. I've only been here for 1 year, so there's people that are locals that are a part of the group now. No, we got to go this way. I'm like, cool. All right. I'll follow off.
What's the direction with it? Where are you taking this? Are we going global or?
We could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but firstly, I think want to be the biggest tri club on the Gold Coast. Yeah. And I think we're not that far away. Yeah. I think we just keep building that. We're here on the Gold Coast. Don't get too far ahead of ourselves. We'll definitely expand if anyone's listening and move that GC Social Tri Club to Melbourne Social Tri Club or anything. Perth Social Tri Club or just it be called Social Tri Club. Yeah. I think that's the future of where we can go, and maybe bring in an element of more online as well, so anyone from around the world can tune in. Yeah. So it's not just if we don't have that community in your city, you can't be a part of it. Yeah. Somehow try and bring it online so that everyone
get a fucking Swift community going.
Can be a part of it. Yeah, 100%. Swift or Training Virtual now that Training Peaks has got that little hit there that it's free until March as well. Or if you're a premium member of Training Peaks as well, it's free.
I actually am. I just need to get
little hacks.
Yeah, I need to get a bloody kicker first.
I thought I seen one.
I'm borrowing Michael's.
Oh, okay.
downboards. Yeah,
Oh,
he's let me one.
And that's another thing about the community.
Yeah.
People just literally.
He was like, mate, take the.
You need one?
I said to him, I was like, I don't know what the can's going to be like. He's like, I'll get you on full gas and you can just do the course. I was like, really? Is that yeah? Full gas is fucking not working though, so full gas to get shit together.
Or sponsor us.
Yeah, or sponsor. What's it doing? Oh no.
What's it done?
Oh no, I've moved it. Oh no.
It's on at least the recording's still on.
The recording's definitely still on, but fuck.
I wonder how far into it do you reckon you would have done that?
I don't know.
Might be from the.
Oh no.
At least I do. I might get a little bit of you, but it's obviously not the same. This is why I think you have multiple setups.
Yeah.
But
it's a silly mistake. That's alright.
that's alright. We still roll on. These are the
learnings.
learnings. You're not going to make the same mistake again.
No, that's right. And I mean, we'll hopefully it hasn't been like that for fucking long. Anyway,
we'll have a few episodes of.
We'll have a few. I'm actually
talking smack.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
triathlon.
I'm keen to I don't know if you're interested, mate. I'm keen to do this more often. I could talk for hours with you, honestly. So we could get you on.
We could too. We haven't even gone into like teaching or anything.
Yeah. Well, we might skip on that one today. We're running out of time, but might have to call it the try with Alex and Brandon. All right, mate.
I'd be keen. I love it.
I think that's it. Anything else you want to bring up?
I think we've spoken about a lot, but still a lot to speak about. But yeah, really appreciate you having me on board.
Where can we find the Gold Coast Social Tri Club? Where can we find yourself?
Yeah, at the moment, GC Social Tri Club on Instagram. We're always putting out content pretty regularly and just showcasing our sessions as well. And where else are we? And then just Brandon Turton on Instagram. Keep it pretty basic, but. Yeah, we're going to
make sure you follow Brandon Turton because he's going to do sub 10 Paul Mac in about 8 weeks' time, whatever it is. I'm pumped to see that. It's going to be really sick. I imagine your brother's going to be down there getting some footage of you.
He's going to be the man. He'll be there capturing yours as well, 70.3.
Oh, can't wait, mate. We'll have to get him up to Cairns.
He'll probably come.
Fuck yeah.
Good chance.
Might even flick him some cash. He wants to make it a video.
He loves it. I appreciate it, Alex.
Cool, man.
Sub 10. Let's do sub 10.
Sub 10 together. Good shit.
You!